According to CNBC, 36% of Americans took on holiday debt in 2024, which to me is kind of crazy, especially because most Americans can't even pay off their debt in the first place. Take a look at what the average US household had owed as of September 2024, according to nerdwallet.com. And if you're an American and that's not alarming to you, then I really don't know what is. Debt, unfortunately, is one of those things that most of us just have to deal with. Whether it's credit cards or student loans or car payments or mortgages, debt for the common American is just one of those things that is just there. What if I told you that there is a way to tackle debt faster so that you could be debt-free ASAP? Imagine you're in this scenario where you're debt-free, you're able to invest all of your money, save more money over time, and even just breathe a little bit more. In today's video, I'm going to break down smarter ways to basically pay off your debt faster with strategies that basically every single one of you could apply. So in this video, we're going to look at four main things. Firstly, we're going to take a look at a step-by-step process to assess your debt. Secondly, we're going to look at two proven debt repayment methods that really are successful at any level of debt that you have. Thirdly, we're going to look at how to cut down on interest payments and exactly what interest is. And fourth, last but not least, we're going to look at mindset habits that can maybe not get you in this situation in the first place and have more money in the long run. So to get rid of your debt, the first thing you have to do is assess and understand what kind of debt you have in the very first place. And you have to do this because you have to prioritize what debt that you need to pay off first, and likewise what debt maybe you can pay off a little bit later. So you start with basically listing all of the different debt types that you have. You should include a couple of factors: who the creditor is, the balance that you owe on said debt, the interest rate associated with that debt, and lastly, the minimum payment that's due. So of course, let's take a look at an example. So one of your debts is that you have a credit card with $5,000 at 20% with a $150 minimum payment. Your second debt is you have a student loan with $20,000 at 6% and a $200 minimum payment. And thirdly, you have a car loan with $10,000 at 10% and a $250 minimum payment. Now that you have this list, the way we look at the debt is to rank them by highest interest first. High interest debts, such as credit card, basically are types of debts that cost you more money over time. So imagine you have a bunch of balloons and they're all slowly leaking air. Some of the balloons have really big holes and are leaking air really fast, while the other balloons have tiny holes and are leaking slowly. If you want to save as many balloons as possible, which ones should you fix first? Well, it would be the ones with the biggest holes, right? Because if you don't, they'll run out of air really fast. Now, think of these balloons as your debts. The ones with the biggest holes, or the largest interest rate, are the ones that are basically leaking your money away, similar to the balloon analogy, because you're essentially paying extra money or interest over time. Now you can move on to step two, which is utilizing the two methods of debt repayment that exist out there. So the two main types of debt repayment strategies that exist out there are: one, the debt snowball method, and two, the debt avalanche method. The debt snowball method focuses on paying off your smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate. And why does it work? It's because it gives you a sense of morale boost and kind of proves to you as a person that you're able to pay debts in the first place. It gives you momentum and motivation, essentially. So for example, if you have two credit cards, credit card A and credit card B, and perhaps credit card A has a lower interest than credit card B, you would want to pay off credit card A first. And once you do that, you'll get this momentum and this morale boost that, hey, I was able to pay off credit card A very quickly. Now I can move on to credit card B given the successful win. The debt avalanche method is more mathematically sound and is the quickest way for you to really get financially free, but it focuses on paying off the debts with the highest interest first. And why it works is because you're really saving more money over time prioritizing these higher interest debts. So for example, in the very beginning of the video, when we looked at the three different types of debts that you had, you would then pay off the credit card debt first because it has the highest interest rate. And why it works is because you're prioritizing the debt with the higher borrowing costs. So the big question in the room is, okay, we have these two debt repayment strategies, but which debt repayment plan is basically better for you as an individual? To put it quite simply, if you're motivated by small wins and victories, then you would focus on the debt snowball method. Whereas on the contrary, if you're focused on simply paying off as much debt as quickly as possible and saving the most money over time, you would focus on the debt avalanche method. But regardless of which method that you choose, you must make at least a minimum payments on your debt to avoid any additional charges from the lender. So now that we've understood examining the types of debt that you have and then utilizing the two strategies to now pay off the debt, let's quickly look at the topic of interest and interest rates. So interest rate, in the simplest term, is the cost that you pay as the borrower for a specific type of loaned purchase. So you would think naturally that reducing the borrowing cost of your debt, or in other words, interest, would help you pay off your debt faster. And that's exactly the case. So there's 3 interest rate reduction, I'd say, strategies that you could look at, and they're really free for anyone to do. So let's take a look. So the first thing is something called debt consolidation loans. And essentially what that is you're combining different debts into just one single loan. So if you take an example of you have 3 credit cards, A, B, and C, and the card balance on credit card A is $3,000 at 20% interest. At card B, it's $5,000 and 18% interest. And card C is a $2,000 balance at 22% interest. And you're not able to pay these on time, and you realize that you have these 3 burdens. What you could do is consolidate these debts into one single loan and get a better interest rate. Combined, you owe $10,000 and you're juggling these different interest rates. If you notice, card A and card C have pretty high interest rates relative to B. You can just consolidate your loans into one big loan and get a better interest rate altogether. Now, instead of 3 separate payments, you make one fixed monthly payment at a lower rate. This simplifies your payment schedule and allows you to get a lower interest rate. And this strategy of debt consolidation is typically used towards credit card debt. The second method on this list to reduce your interest rates is called refinancing. When you're refinancing, it's kind of similar to debt consolidation, except you're kind of shopping around for better interest rates. Even if you get a 1% reduction on your loan, it can be quite significant, saving you a lot of money over time. By refinancing, you're essentially replacing an existing single loan with a new loan at a lower interest. Not only a lower interest, but you could have a longer repayment term or even a lower monthly payment. But the thing with this is this method is commonly used for mortgages, auto loans, and student loans. What we looked at earlier, debt consolidation, represents simplifying and restructuring multiple debts into one payment, whereas refinancing improves the terms of one specific loan to save money or make payments more manageable. And you're probably thinking, if it's that easy, why don't I just go do it? Well, you do have to have a certain credit score and credit history to qualify for these types of actions. So if you're really underwater and you have a really low credit score, then this may take some time for you to be able to do. And last on this list is the easiest thing of the 3. It's automating your payments. Automating your payments basically refers to you linking your bank account, whether it's a savings account or checkings account, and you're linking it to the lender's website. That way the money is going automatically and the lender is getting paid on time in full on a monthly basis. The benefit of this is that the lenders usually give you a very small discount for doing this, and the benefit for them is that when you sign up for these accounts, they know that they're getting money on a set interval. Even myself, who has student loans, receives a 0.25% discount just by setting up autopay on my provider. And this may not seem like a lot, but let's say you have $100,000 in student loans. You're paying off the principal or the actual amount that you borrowed quicker, and there's less money going towards interest and more money going towards the principal. Now let's examine good habits that you can create in the future so that you don't get into this situation in the first place. But really quickly, I did make a video on this, so please make sure to check that out. Essentially, there's really 2 ways to stay debt-free mathematically, and that is 1, boosting your income, and 2, cutting your expenses where you can. Boosting your income could be done with side hustles such as freelancing, tutoring, or even selling products online. Negotiating a raise with your employer, say you've been with your employer for some time now, you could leverage market rates to negotiate a better salary for what you're actually worth, or even move to another job that pays more. Cutting expenses is actually easier than you may think, and I personally think it's easier than boosting your income. And the reason for this is all you need to do is just take 1 to 2 months of spending data and just see where your money is going, the different buckets, whether you're spending a lot on food or on travel or on groceries or on luxury items that maybe you don't need or coffees. It's very easy to see where your money is going if you just take a step back and just assess. In reality, when you cut expenses, even if they're marginal, but you do it often, you can save a lot of money over time. Cutting $100 a month from perhaps dining out as often as maybe you do, and boosting your money from a side hustle, let's say like investing, plus $200 a month. Now you cut 100, you added 200, and you have $300 now to put towards your debt to get yourself debt-free faster. And in 1 year, that's an extra $3,600 towards debt repayments. And you're probably thinking, this sounds so easy to do, but why don't we do it? And it's really because sometimes we don't realize that we're spending money and derailing off of the discipline that we should have had in the first place. Having an emergency fund is also something that's super important to stay financially free and disciplined. 3 to 6 months is usually what I generally recommend. That way, if you get in this scenario ever again in the future, then you have some sort of breathing room or backup to deal with the scenario. Lastly, using a credit card wisely and being a responsible borrower is super important to keep you on track to be financially healthy. For example, only charge what you can pay in full each month. If you can't afford it in the first place, then it's not worth taking that extra debt. Banks actually make the most money from this specific subset of individuals who are not able to pay debt amounts that they signed up for. And yeah, guys, we live in 2025, so we have all of these digital tools at our fingertips to track our budgets and to understand where our expenses are going and to manage our money more wisely. And one tool that I personally use is something called Mint. Mint is really cool because it allows you to evaluate your transactions, it allows you to monitor your spending and track your net worth at a glance. Mint requires some initial setup, including extra steps to sign in and connect your accounts. You have to sync your accounts like a checking account, credit cards, and different bills, because that's how Mint will then organize your finances and give you a comprehensive overview. Basically, in summary, is if you're too lazy to make an Excel sheet or write it on a piece of paper in terms of what you're spending and what you're saving, just connect your different accounts on the Mint mobile app or a similar app. And no, I'm not sponsored, it's just something that I use personally that I'd like to recommend. Overall, if you looked at this video, there's a lot that we covered. Paying debt is actually easier than you probably think it is. If you just follow the right discipline and right mindset, and you leverage the different strategies and tools that exist, you can pay off your debt really quickly. Nonetheless, if you found this video helpful, if you could please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. You know, every single comment that you guys put in the YouTube videos really helps because it gives me inspiration for new videos in terms of content creation. And obviously the goal of this channel is to help you. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.